Hello? Anyone out there? I seem to be lost.
This is W6CJX for the Papa System, Great Outdoor Net. And we're here every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific. And tonight, we're going to try to get lost in the great outdoors. Ever had anybody ever say, get lost? Well, that's what we're going to try to do. This is Bob, W6CJX. I'll be your net control operator for tonight's Papa Great Outdoor Net. This net meets every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific. This is a directed net, so please go through net control at all times, and your cooperation is always greatly appreciated. Before we get started, let's pause for any emergency or priority traffic. Okay, hearing nothing but crickets, we'll continue with the net. Stations with emergency or priority traffic can come into the net at any time with a double break, and net control will respond appropriately. The Papa system is an open membership-supported system in the Southern California area, with coverage from the Mexican border to Paso Robles and from the Channel Islands to Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're a visitor to the Papa system tonight, I invite you to go to papasys.com and register as a guest. With your guest registration, you'll have 45 days free access to the Papa system, and at the end of your guest access period, we'd love for you to become a subscribed member and continue to use and be a part of the Papa system net. However, all amateurs are welcome to participate in the daily, weekly, and monthly Papa system nets, regardless of their membership status. Again, this is the Papa system, Great Outdoor Net. All right. Hope everybody's having a great weekend, or at least the end of a weekend. Got off on the wrong foot there, but that's why we have backups, so we can kind of take care of things and keep the net rolling. Let's see. With that, let me get into some announcements, and then we got some special stuff coming up for tonight. Should be a lot of fun. Stand by. Here are the Papa System weekly announcements for the week of August 4th. The Papa Inland Empire Breakfast. Papa will be meeting in person on Saturday, August 9th at 9 a.m. at the Mill Creek Cattle Company. Everyone is welcome. We will be offering ham license testing at 8 a.m. for technician, general, and amateur extra class licenses. Please RSVP for breakfast attendance and for ham license testing at 8 a.m. The Papa Valley Breakfast. Papa will also be meeting in person on Saturday, August 9th at 7:30 a.m. at Lulu's Restaurant in Van Nuys. Everyone is welcome, so come on out for a chance to meet and visit with your radio friends that you talk with on the air. We will be offering ham license testing at 7 a.m. for technician, general, and amateur extra class licenses. Please RSVP for breakfast attendance and for ham license testing. Papa Quick Start Program. In conjunction with all of our test sessions, we have a Quick Start program for newly licensed technicians. Our Quick Start program is designed to get you on the air as soon as your new FCC license arrives and help you understand how to use a radio on the Papa system to communicate with fellow hams. The Papa system will provide you with a pre-programmed UHF handheld radio at no cost to you and assist you with technical and operational issues as you learn more about ham radio. More details are available at the test session and on the Papa website. The USS Midway Museum radio team, NI6IW, will be on the air on Saturday, August 9th, from 0900 to 1600 Pacific Time. They will be celebrating the United States Coast Guard's birthday. Check the Papa website for all of the modes and frequencies. All this information and a whole lot more can be found on the Papa website at papasys.com. All right. Thank you, Mr. Announcer, sir. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's see what else is on our agenda here. And we're going to play a little AI information that I usually pick up out of the AI woods. And we're going to be discussing being lost. Now, there's two types of being lost. There's the physical, and there's the metaphorical. We'll listen to this, and this will explain a few things.
The phrase lost in the great outdoors generally refers to someone being disoriented or unable to find their way while exploring nature. It can also refer to a feeling of being overwhelmed by the beauty and vastness of the natural world. The literal meaning: this refers to the physical experience of being lost in a wilderness area, such as a forest, mountains, or desert. The figurative meaning: this refers to the feeling of being overwhelmed by the scale and beauty of nature, or perhaps feeling insignificant in the face of its power. Not all who wander are lost.
Well, isn't that the truth? Yep. So where this kind of came from, a little bit from last week, we had a report from the field from Steve, KI6LOV. He's out there on the trail usually every weekend, or almost. And this weekend he's not, but we worked out a little something because he made a good point last weekend, and I think we should revisit that, and it kind of fits into this. So if you heard what the gentleman said there's a couple ways of getting lost, physically being lost in the wild, and I'd love to hear your stories. If you ever thought you were lost, even if it was just for a moment, or if you were lost for quite a while. Either way is good. Good information. We might learn something from it. And then on the other side, have you ever been lost looking at the beauty of nature? You know, you went to Yosemite. Wow, I'm lost. Just in the majestic mountains and the rock formations. Or you've gone to Niagara Falls, and you're like, wow, I'm lost in the beauty of this nature. So there you go. With that, I'm going to call in my good friend and our good friend, I should say, here on the Papa system, a great net controller and a great outdoorsman himself, KI6LOV.
All right, good evening, Bob, and everyone out here on the Great Outdoor Net. This is Steve, KI6LOV. And, Bob made that I've already heard Bob's presentation, his AI presentation, and it's food for thought. And last week, I talked about slowing down on the trail, witnessing the beauty, taking in the smells of the chaparral or the pine trees, wherever you might be, and making sure that it becomes an immersive experience. Well, that's part of the take that I get from listening to that explanation, that no matter where you are, you don't have to be at the Grand Canyon or Yosemite. You could be out at Tapia Park taking a hike, and as long as you observe and become the hike and not just do the hike, you'll get a much better experience out of that. I also wanted to mention something about the idea of becoming physically lost. And once again, the trails of Big Santa Anita Canyon, where I almost exclusively hike now, they're very well marked, and it's difficult to get lost. However, I meet with people, not every time, but many times, who, when they pass, they ask me, where does this trail go? Well, I'm sorry. Before you ever go out on a trail, make sure you familiarize yourself with the area and know where the trails go, know your limitations and how far you want to go before you have to turn back and make it home safely. As far as hiking goes, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, especially if you're older, as I am. You need to listen to your body and keep track of your breathing, your overall feeling of how strong or weak you may be on any given day, and set your pace accordingly. Don't rush along and then have to stop and take time to rest, because you'll make much better time if you slow down a little bit and don't stop as often. And get used to doing this. This works for me very well. Take like a 15-second break and then move on again. And you'll notice how much better you feel, and you don't waste a lot of time. Always bring plenty of water, and enjoy your next hike. Now go out there and get your boots dirty. This is KI6LOV. Back to you, Bob.
Oh, well, that sounds dirty. Steve the Dirty Hiker. Now, if you don't get your boots dirty, you're not hiking. Not very well, anyway. Well, thanks, Steve. That's beautiful. And what you kind of said, I have a perfect story for that, but I won't tell it yet. I want to keep everyone in suspense, including myself, because I don't know if I can remember it. But I absolutely did pretty much what you just said not to do. And it was interesting. I think I've talked about it probably on this net 2 or 3 years ago, whenever. But that sounded great. Appreciate you, Steve, very, very much. And let's see. What else we got? I guess we're going to take some check-ins. So basically the topic for tonight is, have you ever been lost or had that feeling of like, and I don't mean like soul-searching lost. I mean literally lost in the wild somewhere, or even just got turned around. You might have been in the desert. You might have been even in the car if you've been lost. I've kind of been lost a couple times in the car way before we had Google Maps and Waze and all these other things. You know, you're like, okay, I don't know where I'm at. How am I going to get out of here? So anyway, those kind of things. So let us know if you've ever been lost. And like I said, if you haven't physically been lost, have you been mentally lost as far as just overwhelmed by the beauty of nature? W6CJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. And we'll take some check-ins, so please come now.
November 6th, Alpha Quebec.
Hotel November Golf.
Foxtrot, Victor November, Jim Cerritos.
Kilo Oscar 6, Julia Charlie Alpha, Jeff Papa 3.
KM6AVH, Papa 1.
N6 HAL, Papa 9.
F4 PQH All Star.
Kilo Delta 6 Lima Lima Bravo.
Kilo 6 Delta Victor.
Alpha Bravo 6, Mike Bravo.
Kilo Oscar 6, Juliet Golf Echo. Papa 22.
Whiskey 6 Charlie Delta Romeo.
Kilos, Echo, Alpha, Oscar. Sorry, Alpha, Oscar, Echo. Kilo
Oscar 6.
Kilo Alpha.
Bravo Golf Sierra.
November.
Raymond. Papa 8.
All right. I better put a stop on it there. I got everybody, but I've already almost filled my page here, so I have to call the net over. Okay, let's start at the top. We're going to go to Dale and say hello to Dale tonight. Welcome to the net, Dale, N6AQQ. Have you ever been lost?
N6AQQ. Good evening, Bob, in the net. Only been lost once. I was 8 years old, and I got separated from my parents at a park and asked for the word in a hiking park. And was lost for about an hour. But that's the only time I've ever been lost. As far as recognizing beauty, one of the most memorable things I can think of was Idlewild in the morning. It was a February morning, so everything was damp, and the sun came out through the clouds. It was just beautiful. The rocks above Idlewild, Suicide Rock, and the rest of them. It was beautiful. Anyway, N6AQQ, back to net.
Boy, my ears perked up when you said Idlewild. Boy, I don't know. Can't get enough of that place. I grew up there, so as you know, I won't keep saying it. What am I looking for here? Okay. Beautiful, yeah. Definitely any kind of mountainous area when there's the dew, or depending on the time of year, could wake up and have snow, and it's pretty beautiful too. Woke up on many mornings with snow. Not every Christmas morning, but most. Pretty much. We used to actually get snow on a regular basis like that. Well, thank you, Dale. Good to hear you as always, and I appreciate you being out there and supporting the net. Let's say hello to Adrian. KK6H&G. Have you ever been lost?
And everybody on the net, this is Adrian, KK6HNG, and yes, I've been on all ends of these topics. Like starting with the early 2000s here in the USA, before the GPS, when I had to stop my car on some streets and ask people for direction, and the majority of them had no idea what to tell me. Well, later on I got the Thomas Guide, and it was a little bit better, but it was what it was. Then Lost in Nature, oh boy, it happens almost every time. Like, okay, recently I've got Lost in Nature many times in the Sierras, probably 6-7 times already since last year. Of course, the Mount Wilson area where Steve's cabin is still one of my favorites, and in that nature I can't get enough of getting lost into. And searching, yeah, I actually got really lost in what I thought it was a very familiar area, the Mount Wilson area, not very far from Steve's cabin. But the reason was that the trail was completely overgrown and I was over-reliant on my GPS, the physical GPS, not the map. The map was fine. And the problem is, it stopped working at some point. And at that point, I got lost. And if it wasn't for the radio and Steve, probably I would have had a very, very bad night there. So I started to make a habit in having a backup GPS if I have to. My favorite applications that I'm using this time are Magic Earth for general driving around, whatever. It works offline as well. And it's super cheap, only 99 cents per year, believe it or not, for a very good app. And the other one, it's called Avenza Maps. This one is a top-notch hiking application where not only you can buy or get some of them for free, a lot of good maps on their store, but you can actually make your own and import as GeoT for GeoPDF, especially if you use the CalTopo website. But there are other ways to do it as well. So yeah, I was a little passionate in investigating all that stuff, and probably everybody knows that almost every time I go to Santa Cruz Island, I have a real-time tracking from one harbor to the other one. So yeah, it's a sort of a passion as well, but sure enough it helps. And yeah, a map like that with its geofencing helped me for getting too far away on the wrong trail at some point. It was downhill, so uphill it would have been harder. Anyway, that's all for tonight. Thank you, Bob, for doing the net. This is KK6HNG.
Well, thank you, Adrian. Yeah, that must have been kind of scary. And I know, yeah, a couple times you got I don't guess you can't get too lost. You're on an island. You'd end up somewhere. Can't go too far, but yeah, the feeling of maybe I went the wrong way, and especially in the case that I had, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, get through some of these check-ins. I really, had no idea where I was going. So, but I did know where I had been. So that was the key there to survival. Thank you, Adrian. As always, look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks out there on the island. We'll try it one more time. Let's say hello to Jim, KE6FVN.
Good evening, everyone. KE6FVN, Jim in Cerritos. Although I've never been lost, I will say hi, having had a relaxing weekend, getting ready to go back to work this coming week. KE6FVN.
Well, getting lost going back to work is not a bad thing, I suppose. I know when I was traveling so much in my service van and I was going up, I know the Central Coast, like, I could probably drive it blindfolded, but when I'd get over into, like, Bakersfield and and Delano and all these other places. If you put me right in the middle of everything, I don't know which way to go to get back to the 99 or the 5. I guess if you just head east or west, eventually you'll hit it. But thank goodness for Microsoft Maps and all that. No problem. I just put home, and it would take me home, at least get me back to the freeway. Once I got back to the 99 or the 5, I just knew I had to head for the mountains, so that worked out pretty good. All right, Jim, thank you so much. And let's say hello to Jeff, K06JCA. Welcome, Jeff, and how are you tonight?
Thank you, Bob. Kilo Oscar 6, Juliet Charlie Alpha, Jeff coming in on Papa 3 this evening. Hope everyone's doing well. And before I give my comment on the topic for tonight, I have a heads up, hopefully information that's valuable for the net controllers. I happened to recently go on to repeaterbook.com online, and I just happened to look at some of the Papa repeaters, and I noticed there's a section on the repeater info section called nets on various Papa repeaters that's either blank or the ones that list nets for Papa only has 5 nets listed Wednesday through Saturday only. So some nets are missing, such as the Great Outdoor Net is not there, the Ladies Net is missing, and there's no digital nets for Monday and Tuesday. So anyway, I thought I'd give you a heads up. It looks like that hasn't been updated for a while, so hopefully that helps. We can get more folks aware of the Great Papa Nets. As far as being lost, I hike a lot, and I haven't never been lost. I used to hike in the Eastern Sierra in the summer typically, and one summer we had one of those really heavy snow winters up in the Sierras, and there was snow still in like August or July, and a portion of the trail that I was used to was covered with snow. So that kind of was threw me for a loop just for a little bit, but I was able to get back on trail. But your second metaphorical, being overwhelmed, I'd say definitely the first visit to the Grand Canyon, for folks that haven't been there, it is quite impressive. It's one of the few places I've seen that is very impressive and overwhelming as the Grand Canyon. So I want to say 7-3 all, and back to net control, Kilo Oscar 6, Juliet Charlie Alpha.
Yeah, that would be a good one. You know, just standing there on the edge of the Grand Canyon and just taking it all in and get lost. Hopefully not dizzy. Don't fall over the edge. But yeah, I guess if I really sat and thought about a lot of the places I've been, I'd probably feel the same way. I never just thought about it as being lost, but like kind of lost in the moment, and just. But I think what was good, like Steve brought up last weekend, and then we kind of emphasized it a little bit tonight, was just the old saying of stop and smell the roses. And I used to always take a lot of pictures when I was hiking, so that was a good excuse to stop, take a little break, take a couple of pictures, and then keep going, and just, don't be in a rush. Everybody's sort of kind of like wants to be the first one to the top of the hill or something. And I guess if it's a trail you've hiked over and over, you're probably just like, I've seen it all, but I don't know. Steve's been hiking those trails for 50 years, and he's seen some new things, so that tells you right there. All right, Jeff, as always, thank you so much. You always have a lot to add to the net. I do appreciate it. Let's say hello to RJ, KM6AVH. This is W6EJX Net Control.
KM6AVH. Well, I'm going to throw 2 cases onto the mercy of the court to see if it qualifies. Does walking out of an elevator and not remembering exactly what floor you parked your car on, does that count?
Absolutely. I've done that. What floor? Yeah. Especially if it's a multi-floor parking system. Wow, go ahead.
Second one was I left the LA County Fair, and it took me almost 45 minutes to find my car. I had no idea where I put it. I'm walking around where I think it was, hitting the thing for the horn to make the horn go off. Finally, the lot emptied enough that I went, Oh, there it is. But, yeah, other than that, being geographically lost, not that I can ever remember. I did hike with somebody up. We hiked down from the top of Mount Wilson back to, I think it was Gentry Flats. And there was a little bit of snow on the trail, and we were walking, and I turned to the two people that I was with, and I looked at them, and I said, I don't think this is right. We're about ready to run out of trail here, and it's getting slippery, and there's a deep slope here. So we turned around, and we walked back, and the guy I was with, Brock, said, oh yeah, no, it's over here. So there was, that one time, and you know, at that point, I totally understand how people can get disoriented, especially if the marked trail is a little bit covered with snow or leaves or not very well maintained, especially after a harsh winter. And I soon realized how people can get extremely disoriented and, you know, not be able to figure it out because the GPS tells you nothing. You know, it's not unless you have a geographical GPS that might have the trail on it. Anyway, that's it. KM6AVH. I'll shut up now.
I saw a commercial not too long ago, and the person, it was like an insurance commercial or something, and they said to take a picture of your parking space and maybe like the floor that you're on, just throw it on your phone, and that way later on if you totally forget, but you'll probably forget to take the picture, which is what I usually do. And I had a similar experience, only it was a motorcycle, and I came out of high school when I was in high school. I actually remember that far back. And I used to ride my motorcycle to school when I had my permit, I guess, back those days. And I walked out and there was no motorcycle. There was other motorcycles, but not my motorcycle. And I'm like, did I ride my motorcycle today? Because some days I wouldn't. I mean, I'd either ride with someone else or take the bus. And someone stole it. It was gone. And I was like, but I had to really think, like, I mean, I think I had my helmet in my hand, or maybe it was on the bike. It probably was on the bike. So everything was gone. That would be scary. Because just that fleeting thought of like, oh, I'm lost, sort of. I lost my motorcycle, at least that much. Thank you, RJ. Man, let's say hello to Hal. N6HAL. Good evening, my friend. How are you tonight?
N6HAL. I'm doing fine, Bob. How are you doing? And once again, thanks for hosting the net. I was going to come on and say, well, I've never been physically lost, but I'm not so sure tonight because I'm not sure if I'm on the correct Great Outdoor Net because I didn't hear any crickets. But I figured I recognized your voice, so it was the right one. Not physically lost, but a long time ago I was hunting in Ruidoso, New Mexico, deer hunting with some Air Force buddies. And I didn't get lost, but it was long toward dusk and the forest was getting kind of dark and a little bit foggy. And I started walking back at the proper time to go back to our rendezvous point. And I heard a wolf howling in the distance. And the first time I've ever heard a wolf in the woods. And I was hoping that I wasn't lost so I could get back to the rendezvous point before that wolf got me. The overwhelming loss, I used to do it almost every time I went to the desert, East County, San Diego County, Ocotillo Wells. I had a habit of staying up all night riding my three-wheeler around and having a few social drinks. But I like to sit out there on the sand dune and watch the sunrise and just see that sun come up over the desert. And it just kind of, I was definitely in awe of the desert, and that's kind of my thinking time. Always enjoyed that. I think that's about it for my lost time. Never really physically lost, which I'm thankful for. I'll probably come back at you later on if I can stay awake, Bob, for a recheck, something I wanted to ask you. But that's my lost story. Thanks a lot, Bob. N6HAL, Papa 9.
Well, I'm sorry you lost out with the crickets at the beginning. I apologize for that. I'll fix that tomorrow. And you may have to just go back and listen to the podcast or the archive of the net tonight to get the full effect. Because I had crickets, I had a wolf howling, and somebody yelling help, or not help. I didn't want to put that on the air. I think I'm lost. So I don't know if any of that came through. I'll find out when I play it back. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't get lost, because then we would have never found you. And, you would have never found us on the air on the Papa system. So I was thinking maybe you might have had something like going into a smoke-filled building and, you can get disoriented really, really quickly, especially if you don't know the inside of the building and it's the first time you're in there and it's all full of smoke. So that's kind of scary too. But those are the type of things you just have to tell yourself it's okay. It's going to be all right. All right, Hal, jump in if you need to. We'd love to hear from you again and say hello to Ron, KF4 PQH. Welcome, Ron. And are you lost?
This is KF4 PQH coming in from Locust Grove, Virginia on All-Star. I frequently get lost. I have a habit. I always have kidded around. I've got a lousy sense of direction. When I get to a corner and think I should turn right, I better turn left. So I've been known for doing that. But remember, all who wander are not lost. And I like to meander around. I don't do a lot of hiking anymore at my age and my weight. But I'm always in for, I wonder where this road goes. And over the 10 years out in the motorhome, we do that once in a while and get rewarded by some beautiful views and amazing sights sometimes. So I know what the destination is. It's about the journey, and just enjoy it. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I wonder where that road goes. And so far, I have actually managed to find my way back home again. So this KF4 PQH 73 to everybody out there, and thanks for doing that, Bob. Back to you.
Yeah, there used to be some really cool T-shirts out there that would say, not those who wander, wonder how that goes. Not all who wander are lost. They're just enjoying the great outdoors. I don't know what it said, but it was something similar to that. I almost bought one. I probably should have. But it's a good saying, It's like saying you're wandering around out there. I'm not lost, but I just like to wander around. All right, Ron. Thank you, sir. And let's say hello to Logan, KD6 LLB, who never gets lost. I can't imagine Logan being lost, but let's find out.
Good evening, Bob. Actually, I barely made it back into the garage. I couldn't figure out which door it was. But anyway, this is Logan, KD6 LLB. And first, before I forget, very good comments and recommendations from Steve at the top of the net. And yeah, so here are the basic facts. I get lost easily. It'd be impossible to catalog the number of stories I have of being lost, driving around, hiking around, just everything. None of them are interesting because they're all just not interesting. Or, well, I don't know. Maybe they're interesting, but it doesn't reflect well on me that I get lost so easily. I have to make an extra effort to not get lost and to, navigate and to pay attention. So, if I'm having something like an immersive experience of nature, getting lost in nature can lead to getting actually lost in the wild for me. So I find that if I pay too much attention to the scenery and everything around me, I sometimes just blow right past I make a choice, left or right at a Y in a trail, and then later when I come back, I think, have I been here before? So I have to always remind myself when I come to a fork in the trail to turn around and look back and make sure that I know what it's going to look like when I come back down that trail, assuming I'm going in and back out on the same trail. And there's a lot of extra things that I have to do to just compensate for the fact that mostly I'm just wandering around and I get lost easily. So I can say this, I have definitely been lost, and I have definitely been late, and I have definitely been concerned, and it looked like the weather was going to be a problem and everything and all the this and that, but I have never spent a night out unplanned, unprepared. I've always managed to get back under my own steam, and I have never needed a rescue in the woods or from a lifeguard in the ocean, and I have come close, and I have found myself in situations where I would have paid whatever it cost to get a helicopter ride. But yeah, so anyway, I try to be safer now. And I've also been there when I've sort of stumbled across people, or others in our group have come across people in Moab in particular. That's just a common occurrence, I think. In the Sierras, I've also come across people who were, turned around, and I was able to sort of actually hike out with them in some cases. There have been search and rescue parties being organized at trailheads that I happen to be at. And, just to help out, I hiked the low probability trail that the people they were looking for were not on. And just to cover more area, try to help out the way I could. I didn't expect to find anybody. And quick comment, Moab, they literally paint stripes on the trail of this, on the Slick Rock Trail. And if you lose sight of those white stripes, you're in big trouble. Or you can be. It is amazingly easy to get lost there. As far as getting lost in nature in the more metaphorical sense, I just scratched out a list. And things that I can think of. The first time I saw the reefs, or the only time I saw the reefs in Tavarua in Fiji, the ocean is as clear as anything I've ever seen by a wide margin, and it was amazing. And the light, like if you actually catch a wave, it's just translucent. It's amazing. Somebody mentioned the Grand Canyon. Yeah, that's definitely just hard to believe when you see it. The first time I camped on Padre Island and woke up and unzipped my tent and looked out, I saw one of the most beautiful mornings. First time I saw a giant pod of dolphins from a sailboat. That was amazing. Just out here on the way to Catalina in just perfect sea state and really nice. Stars in Flagstaff, stars in East Texas. Moonlight on the Chiricahua Badlands at ice-covered rocks in the moonlight, and that was just something that you don't see maybe once in a lifetime. I've had the sun come out on a gray day at Zuma and realized there were dolphins swimming under me in perfect visibility. And anyway, all right, I rambled on. Thanks for doing the net, Bob, and it's good to hear everybody and their stories. KD6LLB.
Well, that's perfect. You probably have seen, when you come to a Y in a trail and someone's kind of made an arrow out of sticks, just kind of like pointing. Like if there's a big group hiking and they just want to make sure you go to the left or go to the right, whichever one. But I've seen those too. And you're absolutely right. If you're doing I used to call it an In-N-Out, but it sounds too much like a burger restaurant. If you do an out and back, it sounds like another restaurant, Outback. If you do an out and back, the trail looks so much different coming back. And so even though it's just one trail, because that's all there is, let's say, and you have to come back out the same trail, you're going to see things you didn't see on the way in. It's like, that's what's kind of fun about it. People will say it's boring because you just go out as far as you can go and then you have to turn around and come back, but it's really not. Just take it all in. Thank you, Logan. Sounds great. Enjoyed it. Very good. Let's say hello to, I don't have a name, Kilo Oscar 6, Kilo Hotel Kilo. Welcome to the Great Outdoors.
KO6KHK, this is Steven in Hesperia. Glad to hear all you guys. I think I've been lost in more parking lots than in nature. It's kind of nice to just be out in nature, and if you don't know where you're at, that's probably where you should be at for the most part. I'm gearing up. I have a trip I'm doing for Pyramid Lake, and I was wondering if any of you guys have been in the area. Pyramid Lake, California, kind of off the 5 freeway.
Well, that's the same Pyramid Lake that's on the 5 there, I believe, right? Yeah, I've been by that quite a few times on my travels back and forth to Bakersfield. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I was just going to be in the area for a weekend up there. I'm going to be camping out at Los Alamos Campground, and I was just kind of wondering what the area is like or what to expect. I got like a couple repeaters in there, Fraser, and a few others for the trip. I was just curious to see what to expect as far as like being able to reach out from the area with a ham radio and whatnot, or like how the area is, if anyone had input. Thank you.
Well, yeah. If there's somebody out there that's actually been to that campground, I don't know if the campground right by Pyramid Lake is called Los Alamos. I don't remember. I've stopped there a couple times. I noticed it's not really by the lake, so you can't. It's off by itself down that little canyon, and then you just have to drive down to the dock or whatever. But yeah, sounds good. It sounds like a lot of fun. So maybe if someone's out there listening wants to comment on that, they can. So stay tuned. You might find somebody. Let's head on up to the San Francisco Bay and say hello to Jeff, AAB6MB. Good evening, Jeff. Good talking to you this afternoon, and welcome. Any of you ever got lost? Maybe looking at the squirrels that could get lost.
Hello, Bob, and thank you for doing the net. Oh, God, I get lost whenever I look in those squirrels' eyes. No, just kidding. But, yeah, what I was thinking there with all that, I actually got lost one time, and this was, I was with my sister and my nephew, and we were driving in down near Santa Cruz. So I went into I usually go down the coast to it, but for some reason I took a left on this one, a road, and thought, well, I'll go up here and go down a different way. I got up there, and what happened was the GPS stopped working. There wasn't a GPS, or, for the maps coming from the cell towers, because there's no cell tower. And all of a sudden, my maps didn't work. I had no idea where I actually was. I got turned around on that, and I went a couple of different ways, and finally I got on I got kind of back on this road, and there was a big sign that said Santa Cruz, 19 miles. So I told my sister and nephew, said, we're going to Santa Cruz. And so which is where we wanted to go. But what I did after that is I downloaded maps for California to my cell phone, that in the future, if I go to a place without a cell tower, he'll be able to use the maps that are on the phone. And but that was pretty eye-opening, because I was kind of disoriented. I just couldn't figure out where I was. I knew that I was in California, and I knew I was in Northern California, but I just kind of lost. It was just kind of, you get so used on technology that when it gets taken away from you, all of a sudden you're like, what do I do? And it was pretty eye-opening, and I've never forgot that. And that happened a few years ago, so it hasn't been that long. But meanwhile, we ended up in Santa Cruz and went back. I knew my way around once I got there, and so we ended up doing our tourist thing, and then came back and on another road that different than the one we went down on, and we had a great time. But that was pretty eye-opening, and I think you had a second question attached with this, Bob. Was there a second question attached? Back to you.
Well, it was kind of like the two different forms of being lost. One would be physically, like you were just mentioning, kind of just lost, don't know where to go. And the other one is kind of metaphorically, if you were just lost in the beauty of nature.
Oh, okay. Actually, when I was in high school, Boy Scout, a few of us Boy Scouts were going to camp on Mount Rainier, near it, or on it actually, part of the the park. And we got out of the car up at Paradise at Mount Rainier, and I went over and I looked, and the mountain looked like it was so close I could touch it. And I never forgot that. That was just awe-inspiring. How much that stood out there, how clear it was, and how it seemed like I almost literally could touch it. And I've never forgot that. And I actually have a picture of it. I use it on my screensaver, but it still doesn't have that sense of that, the mountain being that close to me, but it still kind of really caught my attention. So back to you, Bob. Anything? Good net, AB6MB.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I know what it's like, getting used to technology. And like I said, I relied on that pretty heavily for at least most of my career. Earlier on, it was MapQuest, or you had to print out, instructions from the rental car at the airport to your hotel for that night, and then to where the customer was the next day. I used to do that on, I think it was MapQuest, to do that online. And then finally we got, sophisticated cell phones, which really was a game changer. It was just one less thing you had to worry about, was how are you going to get there and which turn to make and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's got to have a backup, I guess, is the thing, and just make sure you have somewhere. Now, of course, we've talked about this before with the new cell phones, at least on the iPhones, they do have that satellite messaging service, and you should be able to still get a coordinate if you needed to send your coordinates to somebody if you were totally lost. And of course, it'd have to be in a open sky, clear sky for that, but they work pretty good. And you can do text messaging with it, so we'll see where we're going with that technology. That would sure have made me feel better on my adventure that I'll share with you guys in just a few minutes. All right, thank you, Jeff. As always, let's say hello to Ellen, K6D Delta Victor. Welcome, Ellen.
Oh my goodness. You've had an awful lot of check-ins tonight, Bob. What a great net. Great stories. I heard motorcycles out there. I hear hiking. Yeah. Have I ever been lost? Not that I remember. Actually, I have to be careful. As a solo traveler on a motorcycle, you don't want to get lost, because then the dynamics of where you need to be at the end of the day get a little more complex. So what I tend to do is follow a mantra that those who are wandering are not lost. So I do have a place, however, in the world. There are others, but this one ranks at the top. It's in Switzerland. And I used to go there when I was in my 20s to train with the mountaineering and ski patrol, and rescue and all of that during the summer months. And in the winter, I was there skiing and patrolling with the Americans. And I have to say that the Bernese Oberland, the Eiger, the Jungfrau, those mountains south of Interlaken, have always had my heart. And I was there in 2019, first time in almost 40 years. And I went back in 2023, and I'll go again for the big 8-0. I will plan for that. Because there's a hang gliding pilot there who said if I came back when I turned that magic year, he would fly me for free, since he was my pilot for both of those other times I was in the Lauterbrunnen Valley. Oh, there. That's all there is. I have never been lost, per se. My mind is always in holding on there. Take care, Bob. Great Nat. Kilo 6, Delta Victor.
Well, I figured you probably didn't get lost too often, because you probably wouldn't go on too many adventures if you were always getting lost. So I figured you probably had that figured out. And isn't Switzerland lovely? Oh my gosh, I got lost in Switzerland, just in the beauty and the people, and it was so clean and just such a whole different country than any other country I'd ever been to. And it's just wonderful there. I like how you pronounce those names, because I could never pronounce it. It was Laken. I love those sounds. I love German, because Switzerland, I guess Swiss is a little bit of, French, German, and Italian, I think. It's depending on how close you are to which border. And it gets a little confusing on what the heck they're saying over there. But the one thing I did bring back from Switzerland was, and there's a name for it, I can't think of it, you probably know it, but they're basically hash browns that you do in a pan, and they serve those just about with anything you order over there. They're really delicious. So I adopted that and made my own pancakes. They're not pancakes. It's just one big hash brown that you have to flip. But anyway, I love that. Don't eat it that much, but once in a while, it tastes pretty good. All right, thank you, Ellen. And let's see. Let's take. I don't have a name, so give us your name. K06 Juliet Golf Echo, I believe, on Papa 22. If that's you, the microphone is yours.
And thanks for holding the net. This is K06JGE. My name's Randy. I'm in Glendale, and my story isn't so much about being lost, but being disoriented. We were skiing at Mammoth when we got hit by a storm. Complete whiteout coming down the face of Broadway, and you could not see your hand in front of your face. But there was no choice but to go down, so you just went down the face. And at least there's no trees or anything, so you're not going to crash into anything. But I mean, you couldn't see anything, and you had to go down. You couldn't just stay up there; too dangerous. Oscar 6, Julie Golf Echo, back to the net.
Skiing. Did a lot of that myself, and yeah, the whiteouts are not cool, especially when you can't see the bumps. And I used to work in Squaw Valley for a couple seasons, and they first put me up on Olympic Lady, which was the women's downhill back in the Olympics, and that would just after a really good snowstorm, there's nothing better. So the powder is just amazing, and it just gets skied out, and then it turns into these huge moguls, like 6 feet tall. And so once that happens, it takes a little longer to get down unless you're a major mogul skier, which I wasn't at that time. And then throw in the fog or snow and just a complete whiteout condition. You can't. So you're hitting bumps that you don't even know is there. It's really tough. It's a hard one. So yeah, I can relate to that one too. I didn't think about that, it being in snow and the whiteout. That's a good. It's a good one. Yeah, because you're not really lost, like you said. Just keep going downhill, but it's a weird feeling. That's kind of the feeling I was looking for, is being lost of some type. All right, I know Raymond's probably there. He's hanging on, and I figured I'd wait to the end before I tell my story because I figured you guys had some good ones. And say hello to KO6 Bravo Golf Sierra. Welcome, Raymond, and welcome to the Great Outdoors.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you for hosting the net, and good evening to everyone on the net. I was lost one time when I went up to Big Bear. It was winter time. It was snowing. I don't know if some of you are familiar where the dump is at Big Bear. But I went to the backside back there where the dump is, and I had a four-wheel drive, and we climbed up. I guess I was somewhere near on top of Fawnskin, but the plateau up there was all full of snow, and we just drove off, and we were having a grand old time. Just going around looking at the scenery. The snow was beautiful. I mean, it was picturesque. And we didn't see anyone there until we started making it back. Then we saw one other vehicle doing basically what we were doing. And I was keeping an eye on our gas because I knew I could only use up so much, and I needed X amount of gas to get back out of there. And so it was time to leave. And when we did, I was just more or less guessing at the direction I had to go. And then we came to a crossroad, and there's like a fork on the road, and I didn't know which one to take. Well, my decision was made by the sun. Since the sun goes down on the west, I know I needed to go west, so I took the one headed toward the west, and we got out into Big Bear. I was able to go fill up with gas, but it got kind of a little, you feel it in the gut when you think, what if you make the wrong decision and you run out of gas? You know, so it was great being able to get out of there just as you thought. But, yeah, that's my story of getting lost. And some folks, they get lost on parking lots. Well, I have two. Parking lots, somehow, I've been lost numerous times in parking lots. I don't know what it is, but you come out and you can't find your car. But anyway, it's a super net, Bob. I appreciate the Papa system. Appreciate everybody on the net. You guys take them easy. Be safe. Love life. Kilo Oscar 6, Bravo Golf Sierra. We'll be standing by.
Well, we love you, Raymond. You're the best. Always love your stories. You know, and I think just about everybody has probably been lost in a parking lot. I know I have several times. Like, where did I park that car? And that could be just on the same, you know, level, not multiple levels like RJ was talking about. If you're on the second, third, or fourth floor, they all look the same when you come out of the elevator. So yeah, that can be kind of, and I guess it's even worse at Disneyland, but they put Goofy and Donald Duck and all these different characters. So if you can remember Goofy, Donald Duck, Mickey, Minnie, one of those, Pluto, you're parked in Pluto, number, whatever your number is, you got it made. Thank you, Raymond. All right, let's get one more call for Brad. Let's see if we can bring him back in. Whiskey 6, Charlie Delta Romeo. If you, I think you might have lost the battery or something. Not sure. Anyway, come on back if you're there, Brad.
This is Brad, Whiskey 6, Charlie Delta Romeo, and thank you, Bob, for the net. Hopefully you're hearing me now. One story in Boy Scouts a long time ago. Got lost. The Scoutmaster decided to go off trail, and
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It gets to that trail, and then all the thing goes away. You might have a really low battery. Anyway, Brad, we'll give you another shot. If you can hear me, I don't know, I think your radio's shutting off. That's so funny. When we went to the trail, and it's gone. And let's try one more time for Brad.
Probably absolute operator error, but got lost in a Boy Scout troop on the backside of San Jacinto, and the Scoutmaster decided to go off trail, and took us about 4 hours to figure our way out of it.
Wow, that's not a great place to get lost. So I did a lot of trekking and traveling and backpacking up in the San Jacintos. A lot of fun, and wish I could do it more. I didn't. I did not too long ago, but I cheated and I took the tram, which I don't know if that's cheating or not, because you don't get a chance to kind of acclimate coming from sea level where I live to, you know, even go up to the town of Idlewild, spend the night, have dinner, and have some time to acclimate. That's what my daughter and I used to do, and sleep overnight and just kind of, you know, get used to it before we start hiking up Devil's Slide Trail there. But well, good. Yeah, don't go off trail. And a Scoutmaster should know better. But I think he was trying to make up time. I don't know. All right, W6CJX with the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. We're talking getting lost. Have you been lost? Are you lost in the physical sense or the metaphor of the awe and wonder of nature? Let me give you my story. It's not going to top everyone else's, but it's a truly lost and survival story. So from the host of the Outdoor Net, I'll give you my story. And I promise to make it quick, but I want to make it understandable. It was up in Bryan Head, which is in Utah. We were visiting my brother-in-law, which is Carolyn's brother. He had 2 snowmobiles, and this is the middle of winter. In fact, it was January 1st. Carolyn just sent me a picture of myself finally coming back from being lost. And it was about 15 degrees sunny, but the sun was kind of going down behind the mountain. So I did mention he had 2 snowmobiles. Well, one of them didn't start at his house, so we took one snowmobile. And he goes, that's okay. We'll just take turns. Well, I've ridden motorcycles since I was, whatever, just a young lad. And so I thought, okay, I can ride a snowmobile, sort of the same thing. And then kind of it is. Okay. So he takes off. We get there. He goes up this service road, that's a pretty wide road there, and he takes the trail, comes back in about 10 minutes, 15 at the most, and he says, okay, yeah, just go up that road and just kind of hang out to the right. Just always keep going to the right, and you'll loop around and come back. And I said, okay, that sounds great. So I was all excited for a snowmobile ride. So I take off, and like I mentioned, 15 degrees, and I was well insulated except for my gloves. I had really good gloves, North Face Denali gloves. Problem is, when it's that cold out, gloves are not good, especially in a snowmobile situation. We don't have your fingers in there together, keep them each other warm, and having like maybe a glove liner that you could put in there first. So all those little seams on every finger of the glove just seeps air, and cold air. So as I'm making my way up this trail and driving around, having a good time, beautiful scenery, lost in the scenery for sure, coming around, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going the right way. There's something not right here, because I felt like I was, but it's just not. I would have been back a long time before. I think I was gone about an hour. And so I thought, okay, this is not good. There's no cell service. He can't come get me because he doesn't have a snowmobile. He'd have to drive back down to Cedar City to get help. So we were like in a pickle. So my instincts kicked in to say, okay, I don't know where I'm going and where this trail goes. It was a marked kind of, U.S. Forest Service trail for snowmobiles, but I don't know where it's going. I've never been on it before, but I did know where it came from. So I thought, you know what? I have to go all the way back because it was a long ways, but at least I know I came from that direction. And that was my story as far as being lost and giving up and knowing when to turn around and head back because it was getting kind of dark. The sun had gone away and getting colder. Well, the one thing I had to do was turn the snowmobile around, and I didn't know if I could. I could have I had to go up like a little hill, back it around, turn it around. That thing could have fallen over, and I would have been stuck there probably for the night. All right, so in closing, I made it on back. He's like, wow, what happened to you? He was freaking out because he thought I wrecked or something happened. I told him I got lost. Well, anyway, my hands literally were at least first stage of frostbite by this time. And I remember from watching all these survival stories or shows that the first thing you want to do, or the best thing you could do, is stick them under your armpits and just try to warm them up. And that's what I did. And I'm telling you, I have never felt burning that bad in my life. That my hands were on fire just because they were thawing out. And so that's the first stages of frostbite. So that's my survival story. I was truly lost, but I knew that if I just followed myself, I knew I'm good with locations, I'm good with directions, but I didn't know if I kept going where I would end up. But I knew if I turned around, I knew where I'd end up. So anyway, that's my story. Let's take a few more check-ins. Appreciate everyone tonight checking in and with their stories. Let me tell my story, and let's see who else is out there for tonight's net. W6CJX Net Control.
KM6AVH for a recheck.
Foxtrot Golf Whiskey. Oh, November 6th, Mike Romeo Golf.
N6 HAL for a recheck.
Kilo Oscar 6, Bravo Hotel.
All right. We picked up a couple new ones, not a couple few ones, whatever you want to say it, and a couple rechecks. So let's slip in there with our first-timers and give them a shot, and then we'll pick up RJ and Hal. So keep your thought. WA6FGW. Steve, welcome. Have you ever been lost in some type?
Alrighty,
Hey, good evening to Bob and the Net. This is WA6 Foxtrot Golf Whiskey, and I'm sure I've been lost a few times, but it's never been a serious one. I've always pretty much gone backpacking in a group, and the one thing that has caught a few of us by surprise, which you can't plan, I've always had the policy that you hike at your own pace, and you get in the camp when you get in the camp, sort of type of thing. But the idea with that is, if you are going to do that, you make sure you, whoever's in front of you leaves, how would you say it, leave someone at post if you're going to be using going, left or right decision, and there's no either, heavy duty marking, shall we say. So, once you do that, then that eliminates that. You know that everybody has gone left, and they can advise anyone that's behind you do the same. And later in the trips, we've had at least 2, possibly 3 or 4 hams that have come along. So we've always kind of had, someone have someone that is the, shall we say, the leader, and then someone that's kind of like tail end Charlie type of thing. Other 2 quick things. There was a thing on the news here just a couple days ago about ticks. Apparently, they're talking about this being a banner year for ticks. So everybody be extra cautious, and make sure you check yourself out before one lets it go too long, because I guess it can get pretty nasty. That's about all I got. There was one incident with the Boy Scouts. We went up the trail and set up camp, and during the night we had a bit of a blizzard, and that was fine, except that when we went to back up and head back down, we weren't sure which. Oh, that sounded good. So I can hear the Main Street Platte Victory here. But that's all I got. Have a good one. WA6FGW.
Yeah, picture that one. Getting up in the morning, it's all full of snow, and then, you can't really tell where the trail is. I mean, I guess you kind of figure it out, but boy, that'd be kind of scary too. So, well, that's interesting. Yes, I remember old Platte and Victory. Carolyn and I used to go to the Taco Bell. I guess it might still be there. And then she worked at the KFC out there on Victory and Platte on the other side. And there was a KFC there, and you probably remember that. All right. Sounds good, Steve. Thank you so much. Let's say hello to Chris, KN6MRG. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Love the stories. Great net, Bob. Thank you very much. Boy, you've refreshed a lot of memories for me. This is Chris, Kilo, November 6, Mike Romeo Golf, coming in on Papa 10. I'll start with, I try to get lost. Like, I try not to use so many apps and stuff. I mean, one of my motorcycles, I do rally stuff, so I'm mapping all the time. But thinking back, when I was 16, I had only had my license for about 4 months. I was driving around Ocotillo. It was the first time driving around there at night. I'd ridden motorcycles all the time, but I got completely lost in, like, slot canyons. And the road signs for, like, Shell Reef Expressway and all that, like, I drove around for about 45 minutes and was like, where am I? And I finally found Shell Reef Expressway and then to San Felipe Wash, going back to camp at County Line. But the more interesting story is during the summer we used to do like night runs out there. So we'd leave as the sun was setting and go out and just enjoy Double Spide and Shell Reef and everything. And I am kind of known, like, I do a lot of stuff solo, like backpacking and motorcycle riding and all that kind of stuff. And most people trust that, like, I know how to find my way back. But, so I rode out there with some friends, and I hiked up to the top of Peak just to the west of Devil's Slide in Ocotillo, and like made a little basin and like just fell asleep. And when I woke up, nobody was there. So I hiked down the hill, Shell Reef Expressway, found a camp, and ended up like hitchhiking back to my house. So my story of being lost for that is my friends lost me. But Mother Nature is always surprising, and I absolutely love it. Grand Canyon, all kinds of stuff. Between climbing and riding motorcycles, it's just, everything is all dropping, and just, where Steve said about making time and like doing like a 15-minute break, what I would say is just take a sip of water. Every little moment you get, and don't like guzzle water, because if you start getting thirsty, you're starting to get dehydrated, especially at elevation. So just take a little sip, and just sip every 10, 15 minutes, and your body will be happier for you. All right, 73, this is KN6 MRG. Thank you very much, Bob, for the net. Always a pleasure.
That's awesome, Chris. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking, too, riding motorcycles in the desert, you know, you want to look around and see these different mountains and stuff. There's always mountains somewhere in the desert, usually. It might be a long ways away, but use those as reference, and that kind of goes along with what Steve said, too, is just, you know, make yourself aware. Don't put blinders on when you're hiking or you know, riding a motorcycle, let's say in the desert or something. Just look around and see where you're at and get a sense of direction, where you came from and all that, so that'll help. But yeah, definitely if you don't have it. But yeah, I do the same thing. I've done things where I've been on let's say a business trip, and I'll just go to get lost. I just thought of that when you were saying that. And then I know, well, at least I hope, the GPS is going to get me back to my hotel or wherever I'm staying. But I mean, just a foreign area, town that I've never been to, whether it be mostly in the States. I don't think I drove much in Europe. In fact, I know I didn't. I had a chauffeur. There you go. Thank you, Chris. Always a pleasure. You got some good stuff. And like I said, don't be a stranger, and you listened. Let's say hello, one more new person to add, and then we'll go back to RJ and Hal. KO6BBH, I believe it's Bravo Hotel. Welcome.
Hey y'all, this is KO6 Bravo Hotel. I've got two different stories that I want to tell you guys about tonight. One's about getting lost in the Montana wilderness, and the other is getting lost out at sea. So I don't know which one we want to go for first. One involves the Coast Guard, one involves self-rescue. So I'm not sure. I'm new to the Papa channel, and you know, I'll just go with whatever we want to go with first.
Well, they both sound like they're very much on topic. So I don't know. Did you give me your name? I forgot. I may not have wrote it down. Let's go with the wilderness one first, and then you can follow up with the ocean.
So we were brand new out to snowmobiling out there in the Yellowstone wilderness. It was about 3 years ago. I was out there with another elderly male, and we decided to go out there and try out snowmobiling. And from there, we just went out and we rented some snowmobiles, and the guy was like, "Hey, you ever ridden a jet ski?" And I'm like, "Yes." And the other gentleman was like, "Well, you ever ridden a quad?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Well, hey, neither of these are the two the same." So we were out there in the potato fields out there in Idaho, and the other gentleman that I was riding with, he decided to go about 65, 70 miles an hour, and from there, he ended up going over a ridge, and he ended up falling over a cliff and broke his pelvis. So from there, ended up having to do some self-rescue and had to take him out to the local hospital. But he basically ended up having to ride about 4 miles back to our place out in northern Idaho with a broken pelvis.
Well, that doesn't sound like a very fun trip, for sure. I think we'll just leave it at that one. Save that one, the other one, for another outdoor net for the one in the ocean. That one's really good. And like I said, it touched my story too when I took off in on the snowmobile and had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I guess I was natural at it since I rode so many motorcycles. But yeah, but when you get kind of lost, don't know where the heck you're going, it makes a big difference. All right, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in. I got a couple of rechecks I want to take, and then I think we'll probably close. We try to make it in an hour and a half, so we'll sneak it in there somehow. KM6AVH, RJ, welcome.
KM6AVH. Actually, I have a question you can ask next time related to this topic, but I know it's too late to go into it. But here's the question. In a world where there's no cell phones, in a world where there's no GPS, in a world where there's no Garmin to stick on your windshield, if somebody handed you a good old-fashioned gas station fold-out map, would you know how to use it? And would you know how to use it efficiently to get to your destination and not get lost? Can you deal with analog technology? And then I got some antidotes to that if you want, if I have time. KM6AVH.
Yeah, that's a great one. I know we kind of touched on that on Steve's net that night on Maps and the Thomas guy. I mean, we used to talk about being distracted and you're trying to find streets, which I had to do when I worked for U.S. Rentals there in Canoga Park. Sometimes we kind of look at it up ahead of time and have it turn to that page, but there was times when we had to go pick some other piece of equipment up that wasn't scheduled, so then you got to try to find it. And it's not just in Canoga Park. It was like in Beverly Hills. It was all over the place. We used to pick stuff up. And, talk, like I said, people looking at their phones. Can you picture looking at it, some guy trying to figure out where you're going? So, a Thomas guide. There you go. Okay, thanks, Logan. I'll change that. Then the editing process post tomorrow. Yeah, the Thomas guide. Poor Thompson, he didn't get involved there. Those are seedless grapes, I think. All right, RJ, thanks for that. And let's check for the last check-in. We'll take Hal, N6HAL. Welcome back.
N6HAL. Thank you, Bob. I'll make it quick. I got 3 quick stories. One, Idlewild came up several times tonight, and I had a feeling about getting lost one time up in Idlewild. I think I told you I was a temporary guide on a horse trail with my cousin, and I couldn't figure it out because I was a rookie. I mean, here I am guiding these people on a horse trail, and I didn't know where the heck the trail went. And I started thinking about what happens if I have to lead. I get lost. But I didn't worry about it too much because the horse knew where he was going. And the second one is, since, Bob, you're part of the Brotherhood, you talked about disoriented and fires and structure fires and getting disoriented in there. I never got really lost in going into a burning building, but I did, and I admit that I did get disoriented a few times. But I always felt comfortable because I had that hose line to follow out. And on the disorientation thing, I just watched a documentary today on YouTube about the Boyd fire in Los Angeles in 2020 where 11 firefighters got disoriented and trapped and 11 injuries. I figured you might want to look at it, Bob. It's a Boyd fire in 2020 in L.A. And that's it for me. Thanks, Bob, for the recheck. N6HAL, back to the net.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah, with if you're on a hose line especially, or if you're on a hard line, you can just say, reel me back in. That's what I used to be on a 250-gallon mini pumper, but it was just sort of a first attack vehicle or truck. But yeah, we had the hard lines on each side, and I think we had some regular hose too. But it was good. A good time learning all the things about that. Now, hopefully you didn't lead on to the, well, no pun intended, lead on to these people that you were taking on a guided trip that you didn't know where you were going. I was laughing when I heard that. I thought, these people are probably trusting him. He knows where he's going. He's done this a million times. And Hal's up there going, I don't know where I'm going. Anyway, all right, I appreciate everybody. I want to thank everyone for checking in tonight. Am I overmodulating? Just blasting myself out of here. Sorry about my intro. If you want to go back and listen tomorrow sometime, I'll have it up on YouTube. Just go to the Papa System, PAPASYS.com. Go to the home and drop that down to YouTube, or if it's along the top of the bar, click on YouTube and it should be there. Right now it's last week's, but it'll be there tomorrow afternoon. I'll make some changes, fix things up a little bit, clean it up, put a new bow on it, and send it on its way. I want to thank everyone that checked in, of course, and of course all the Papa members that are paying their dues and keeping us all alive and the power on and the internet and all the things we need to run this wonderful organization. And of course Cecil with his legendary leadership. We wouldn't be here without him, but he gets everybody working. He has no problem asking for volunteers or just volunteering you. If no one volunteers, he'll volunteer you, which is good. That's the way it has to be done. We'd never have it this good without that. And of course, all the mountaintop people go in there, keep things running for us, and everyone behind the scenes, and the net controllers, the unsung heroes. But we get a lot of thank yous. So I guess I should start maybe jotting that down with each call, because we do get a lot of thank yous. That's our pay, and we're here to do it because we love to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and sign clear at 21:38, and we kept it almost under an hour and a half, not quite, a little over, and say 7-3. Have a great week ahead. You start your week here on Sunday, so it's not really Monday tomorrow. I hope that works. It's Monday for me too, but I'll just be doing some editing, so I don't mind that. So 7-3 W6CJX, and we'll be closed 21:38 and saying 7-3 till we meet again in the great outdoors.